what the news is trying to get across. Things are bad. Things are really bad. It's got to be a 10 out of 10. It's got to be a 12 out of 10. Probably tenanted properties are going to have a tough time selling right now if they don't show amazingly well. It's got to be priced correctly. All those factors build into it. And the reality is only 25% of new listings are even selling in our market. Steve, I'm sure for you, it's not that much different, maybe even lower.
Oh, way lower.
Even if you do everything correctly, it still is going to take 3 to 4 times longer than it previously was.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds. Do you think Tom can find the record button? That's the real question.
It has already been clicked.
Oh, okay.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. We are all set for another really fun episode here. And just before we begin this episode and interview, I'm going to introduce a new guest to you. I want to say thank you for listening so far. I think both me and Steve have received a lot of messages and texts and people are reaching out saying that they're really enjoying this podcast. And that means a lot to us. We've been really working hard at this and trying to put out content that we think is stuff that we'd want to hear. So we appreciate you guys listening to us. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those other platforms, if you do like this podcast, if you guys give us a rating on that platform, it really helps kind of build it up so it shows it to more people. And if you've been enjoying the video version of this on YouTube, if you could subscribe to that channel, our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But frankly, I think we can do it in the next few months. So yeah, thank you so much. Now, I'm really excited for our guest this week. We've got Alice Prince with us. Now, Alice Prince is 4 years into her career as a real estate agent, is really, really on an upwards trend of doing amazingly well. She's not just a real estate agent. She is a mother as well. And I think running a business with 2 young kids running around is not the easiest thing in the world. So I'd like to introduce Alice. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, guys. I'm actually super excited for coming on the show, especially after the amazing guests that you guys have had. So thank you for having me. And also, it's not just 2 kids. There's 5 in total.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's 5.
Yeah. There's just 2 little ones, but
You're
5
outnumbered.
in total. Yeah.
You're outnumbered by children. Can you give us kind of a background of, so I talked about you've been in the industry for 4 years now. Kind of when did you get into real estate? What got you into it? And then where's your business at now? And what markets do you typically trade in?
Well, I typically trade in York region, Durham region, and a little bit of Toronto. We have an office in Toronto. I'm with Royal LePage Signature. So we're at the Don Mills location. As you mentioned, been in the business for 4 years. What got me into this business is I've always had a passion for entrepreneurship. I think that many people that kind of get into this, they think, we don't want to be told what to do or have bosses. Meanwhile, we have many bosses that come in the form of clients. But yeah, I always wanted to do something on my own. I think that what drove me to this business was I wanted to, I guess, obviously, make my own schedule and such, but I really enjoy the process of like building out something, not necessarily just, putting pen to paper, but actually building out like a system for clients and a whole experience for clients. And that was really what I was passionate about. I love the fact that real estate had a product essentially that I didn't have to create, right? That's, I think, a problem with, or not a problem, a hurdle for entrepreneurs is that they have to bring on or build out their own product when we really had one in place, right? And it's not really going anywhere. Everybody needs housing. So yeah.
I always think about with real estate, it's like we took a job because we didn't want to have a boss. But then the reality is if you wake up and you're not currently working with a buyer or a seller, you're unemployed every morning. So we're literally going out and trying to find a boss because our clients are essentially our bosses, right? As we work with them, it's just like a more short-term relationship than a typical job structure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I think so many people end up in this business just because they can't work for someone else. I may or may not be in that, but like I got to a spot in when I had a real job when I was like looking at my boss every day going, I can do this better. And the boss is in the way.
Yeah.
So I was like, what can I do that doesn't have this hurdle, which is somebody telling me what to do? So now, I don't know. I think maybe a lot of agents do need somebody telling them what to do, but
It's definitely not an easy business to get started in. I remember my first 6 months, I was like, shit, like, did I make the wrong or right move? Like, I had no idea because real estate, the exams or real estate school, ORIA at the time, doesn't teach you how to build out a business, doesn't teach you how to lead gen, doesn't teach you really anything, right? They don't even teach you how to speak about the market. So I had no idea.
Can I ask you about those first 6 months? Because I know my first 6 months in the
Yeah.
industry were not great. I was certainly not a natural. How did you find starting? Because I guarantee there's listeners of this show that are getting into the industry now and moving into a market that is going to be difficult. How did you find that first 6 months? And what would you
maybe
change if you
on
could do it
on
again?
top of that, Tom, let us know a little bit like what was the market doing when you got in, because I think that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, so you've lived half of your real estate life now in COVID. It's like my youngest daughter.
Right.
Like, so it's gonna be, you're gonna have seen massive shifts already in just your 4 years, right?
Yeah, I was on a listing presentation the other day, and when you kind of like, talk about our accolades, I had this like aha moment of like, I actually traded real estate in one of the toughest situations, which was the global pandemic, and had success with my clients. But back to your question, I was licensed in the summer of 2018 when the market just experienced the downfall of or correction of 2017, and so things were crickets, right? Nobody really wanted to do anything, and we were taught to, well, by the brokerage, we have like, I guess, an onboarding new agent program, and the beauty of this business is you could do it however you want, right? But they kind of teach you the simple principles of like door knocking, cold calling, like speak to as many people as you can, whatever the case may be. So what I did, I went out in the middle of the summer, like it was like dead, the heat of the summer, so hot, in heels, door knocked my neighborhood. I thought it would be a good idea to get little popcorn, like in the cellophane, you know what I mean? And then write a card on it, like, hey, just popping by. I'm a realtor in your neighborhood. I felt like such a geek, such a dork. It didn't work, obviously. It didn't come naturally either. And I think that was obviously part of the downfall, right? And if you ask the question of like, hey, do you want to buy or sell? People like don't know you. So, anyways, after that, I realized, okay, I need to lean on an experienced team that's actually doing some business. So I had joined a team. It was a brother-sister duo, somebody in my office. And they did a lot of online lead generation, which now is like the cornerstone of my business.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the YouTube for Real Estate video course. Are you interested in creating an engaging, value-driven YouTube channel to help educate your client base on real estate in your market, as well as introduce a new revenue stream to your business? Perhaps you've already created a YouTube channel, but are struggling to gain viewership and the subscribers you are looking for. The YouTube for Real Estate course will provide you with proven tips and strategies on how to create and cultivate an engaging YouTube channel, as well as how to optimize your channel, resulting in higher viewership, subscribers, and yes, deals. But that's not it. I implemented YouTube in my business in early 2021, and it has easily been the best marketing source for meeting new clients that I have ever had in my business, period. Better than expensive geo-farming, internet marketing, and open houses combined. And now it even rivals my repeat and referral business. If you would like to learn all the tips and tricks for meeting new clients using YouTube, simply go to Video Course Login or click the link in the description below and sign up for the YouTube for Real Estate course today. And learn a year's worth of my painstaking research of learning how to use YouTube for real estate in just a few hours by taking the YouTube for Real Estate course. So go to videocourselogin.com right now and use the promo code TOMSHOW at checkout. Again, that's videocourselogin.com, or simply use the link below.
So you started on your own. You went to a team format. Now you're building out your own team currently.
Yeah.
I guess what was it that first drew you to the team, other than just the loneliness of the business? Was it just like the structure, the leads coming in, and then what made you go at a certain point, okay, this team structure no longer makes sense for me. I'm going to go, I think I can now go do it on my own.
Well, they say, don't recreate the wheel, right? I was on that team for about 6-7 months or so. I think I just needed to realize, okay, how do I structure out the day? And I needed mentorship at the end of the day. And so I learned a lot on that team. I did a couple of deals, which was great. It also taught me not necessarily cold calling, because essentially like these clients had reached out about some sort of property or whatever the case was, and then I would call them. So I developed that side of the business, just getting comfortable on the phones and such. And then, sorry, what was the other question?
Just and then at a certain point, you recognize that okay,
Oh.
maybe I'm gonna go do this on my own again. What was that moment that came to you?
Yeah, I just kind of, I did a couple of deals at the time, and I kind of just looked around at everybody and other people in my office, and it was like, what's the differentiating factor between them and me? And it was experience. So then I thought, okay, how can I get experience in this short amount of time? And it was really diving into the market and understanding the fundamentals of what drives the market and practicing, the cadence in which I speak or how I deliver that message, right? So I used to, like, every week type out on my computer, like, how is the market? Because that's a general question that we would always get, and how I would answer that in my own words and just practice that. And then I would think of, okay, what are other objections that I'm hearing or getting on the phone? How would I practice answering those? And then it just, yeah.
So you're basically just
there.
like training and skills for speaking with potential clients, just how to make sure that when you have the conversation, because there is so much information out there, it's like how to package it correctly that you can say, hey, here's kind of like my minute elevator pitch of what's going on, so that the consumer can hear it and go like, oh, okay, that makes sense, thanks. Instead of just confusing them more, which is what the news does.
Yeah. And I think as a new agent, like, you don't necessarily have the money for coaching or mentorship or whatever the case is. So you kind of have to learn and be aware of your pitfalls and how to overcome them yourself, right? And for me, it was just something simple as writing it out and practicing it. It sounds boring, but
yeah, well,
it works.
Yeah, those small little boring tasks all add up.
If you came in 2018, you guys had a real rough 2017, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Our bad year was actually end of 2018, all of 2019. So you came into something that was tough, right? Like, that was a pretty tough market compared to where it had been previously and where it's been since. Well, except for the last couple of months when things are getting a little rougher, right? So I always tell people, like, you want to come into the market if you're getting into this business in a crappy market, even though it's going to suck and you're going to make no money probably for 2 years. You want to come in at that point, because I'm worried for the people that have just got their license within the last 12 months.
100%.
Because they don't understand what they're about to go into, where, like, before it was, hey, who's going to put the highest price down on the paper, and, order takers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever there's for sure more to it than that. But now the negotiation that goes on, and unfortunately now a lot of that's going to go back to traditional negotiation, which is educating your seller that their house isn't worth what they think it is, right? And that is, we're big bad agents where, oh, he's trying to undersell the property or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if I know you saw a neighbor sell for $2 million, like my neighborhood, $2 million in February, but there's a lot available at 1.6 to 1.7 right now. Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
sitting on the market,
right? We are in the market right now where, in my marketplace anyway, where only the 10 out of 10s are selling. Right.
Yeah,
Where, like, we're
exactly.
firmly in. If you show like a 6.5, you may as well not be on the market unless you're going to adjust your price to be a 10 out of 10 on price. Right.
Yeah.
Like that. We're starting to finally see some expireds. Are you guys experiencing this right now? Our inventory is dropping.
Ours isn't dropping, but it's not coming on at the pace that I was anticipating.
Really?
And I think that's actually what's going to stop our prices from dropping after a few more months, where it might stabilize, because the new sellers don't want to put it out if they don't think they can sell. So less new listings means less inventory, and then we go through the cycle again, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm even starting to notice some prices like stabilize. It's only been a couple of days since the inventory. Since the sorry, my phone's going off here.
It's okay.
Since the data came out, but
airplane mode, Alice, come on.
And it's only 1 month in, right? So it's not enough data to kind of translate to what's actually going to happen, what we foresee happening in the future. But I think it's starting.
So on the ground level of going out there, meeting with sellers, meeting with buyers, showing properties,
Sorry,
listing
guys,
properties.
1 sec.
No worries, no
My
worries.
phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
We
Yeah.
can hear you good.
We're all good. If your phone goes off, sometimes it'll come through the other headphones. Don't worry. It's all good. Don't worry. We
Oh, she's
cut
using
nothing.
AirPods.
We cut nothing from this podcast. So
This
don't
is
worry.
going to be living in forever and ever and ever as our first guest who wouldn't use
Oh my gosh, guys. Technical difficulties here.
Are we going to edit that thing in like 5 minutes later?
The little SpongeBob thing. Oh no.
But I'm frozen.
No.
Now she's frozen again.
Okay.
At least it's like not a wonky-eyed frozen picture.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks
not
like mine.
pretty
bad.
cute.
It's actually a
Oh,
pretty
Lord.
decent frozen picture. Okay, how
7
do we?
minutes later. And we're back. Can you hear us?
We're good?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah. Okay,
right,
awesome.
perfect.
Sorry about
We're
that.
back.
No.
We're back. Technical
No worries.
difficulty.
Okay, so now that things have obviously changed in the market, I want to talk about like ground level perspective because I think news headlines are very big and scary. But for us three, it's like we're having these conversations every single day with people. What have you noticed right now? Because obviously we've seen 5 months where prices have come down every single month. Are your buyers saying, "Hey, we're gonna hang out here, we're gonna wait it out"? And what are your sellers thinking? Like, what's the daily conversations with your clients?
I have buyers that are ready to go. They're first-time home buyers or they're buyers that are relocating from other provinces that are coming here. It's the sellers that have to then buy that are a little bit hesitant because they're like, well, I don't know if we're going to get not necessarily the price that we're going to get a couple months ago, but even just the traffic, right? They're thinking that they're going to sit on the market and they're not used to sitting on the market for 14 days, right? They're not used to anything longer than that, but they're used to 3 days and it sells. So I think that they just kind of are waiting to wrap their head around that. Also, it's August, and August is typically a really good time to buy because everybody's kind of on vacation, or the ones that are on the market, they need to sell, right? So it's like a huge cycle, this vicious cycle.
I guess a question for both of you. So right now, if you're speaking with sellers, then I'll give you my opinion. If you're speaking with sellers and they're saying, hey, do we just go on in August and give it a shot, or do we wait till September? Do we think a lot of people are waiting till September and then we're getting an influx? So Steve, what do you think on that?
I think there's a massive amount of people thinking this is going to bounce right back. And I think those people are really misguided right now.
Right.
I think there's a ton of people going, oh, well, the September market's better. And I don't know. We haven't seen a shock to the system of massive interest rate increases like this in a long time. And I think people are holding on to the dream of what they could have had. And I think those people need to be either completely off the market or, they need to forward think and go, okay, where am I going to? Right. Because what do the people want to do now? Let's say in my neighborhood, there's this one house they've used two of the most prominent agents in the area right now, expired with the first one, came back on at the exact same price with the second one. And let me tell you, I know these guys. It's not the agents that there's the reason the house isn't sold. And I'm just like, you can't be holding on. Like they're on at 1.8 right now. And you just can't be holding on to that number anymore.
What do you think their current value is? 165?
They're probably 1.7.
Okay.
I'd have to look more specifically at the house.
Like,
it's not
a vast difference.
It's not, but they're saying like, okay, hey, I mean, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm imagining what they're saying to themselves is, well, I want this price so I can move to wherever I want to go to. And all of our buyers right now are just looking at like, holy crap, you mean I can get from this townhouse that's down $150,000 and I can get to that detached house that's down $300,000? Sign me up. Right? Like that's that's probably the smarter way to look at it. But the term that I can't stand right now is in the YouTube comments is why would I catch a falling knife, right? Like all the people that are not in the market are waiting for the bottom. I even had somebody comment saying, I'm only going to get back into the market when prices start going back up again. And I'm like, that is the stupidest, like only when the frenzy starts. That's when I want to get back in. Right. So I don't know.
Alice, what are you telling sellers right now in terms of would you go on in September or would you hold tight till September? Sorry, go on in August or hold tight till September?
I mean, right now you have limited competition, right? There's not a lot of competition on the market. I think that if you're priced accordingly and show 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10, like go balls to the wall with
Yeah.
proper marketing and proper pictures. It's crazy how pictures make such a difference, right? Not using those wide angle lenses, because when the buyer then comes to the property and they see that your driveway is much shorter than what the picture shows, that's going to cause like distrust and not allow them to connect with the market, or not allow them to connect with the house, right? So yeah, I would definitely. It's also a case by case scenario, and we're expected to see another rate increase in September, and I think that that's going to further change people's sentiment about the market, right? Like
What
the
do you think we're
fundamentals are
gonna?
going to remain the same, but people's psychology is what is going to be
What do you
impacted.
think we're gonna see, Alice? Do you think we're gonna see half 75 or another full point?
I don't know.
That
I'm hoping
is
for
the
half.
correct answer. I don't know is the correct answer.
I'm hoping for half, but I'm hoping for half for like the real estate side. For the inflation side, I know that that needs to get under control, and it needs to get under control fast. Otherwise, we can be in this for longer than we want.
I'm okay with another 75 or a point realistically, because then that would take variables to around 5%, which would put them on par with fixed. But then if they do more after that and it pushes us up into the 5.5%, 6%, I will then become very worried, truthfully. I think one more is okay. After that, we'll see what happens here. I'm not sure when the next data comes out for inflation numbers and where we're at, and truthfully, even how credible that data is, like what's actually going on is. But when I'm speaking with sellers now, I would typically say to them, listen, in a normal scenario, I would say wait till September. But this year's been such a shit show that let's go out. Like we've listed a whole bunch of properties last week. We got more coming this week. Like we've got properties being prepared because these people want to sell and they want to buy. And I think let's beat that announcement in September. Let's get your property sold. Let's make it look really good. Let's get a 60, 90-day closing so then you can go out and buy what you want, which will probably drop in between the moment that yours went firm and when you buy it. So your net going to be ahead of where you were previously. And the most recent video I put out, I ran the numbers on because the numbers for July for the GTA market, frankly, were like terrifying. Like they really were. And I'm not just saying that. That's not like a clickbaity thing. Like when we looked at them, sales were down 47%. 50% was gone, like just disappeared. And now keep in consideration when you look at that, it means there's less sales. So when we're using average numbers, there's less data. So the outliers play more of a thing. So median's probably better. But detached properties in Toronto were down $500,000 from February. $500,000.
Yeah, it's wild.
So your mortgage payment today on the new rates is essentially the same on that same property from $1.5 to $2 million at the peak at the current rates, but your down payment's $100,000 less. So I think it is clear to say that like buying a lower price property at a higher interest rate today is probably better. And if I buy a house in the next few months, which I'm still actively looking, I'll probably do a 1 year or 2 year fixed rate, or I'll just continue to ride the variable because I don't want a 5 year fixed at these rates.
Question for you, Tom. Now that you're a buyer in this market, what are you experiencing?
Oh, I'm not actively looking because I'm trying to get the other property sold still.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
yeah.
You should hire Alice. She'll sell it for
you.
you.
I'll tell you too. Like, there's nothing. I probably should hire Alice. To be fair, the like you were saying, like the 10 out of 10. So the property that I'm trying to sell is tenanted. The tenant's going to be there for another 2 weeks. I think that's interfered greatly with the showings, and it is what it is. But once the tenant leaves, I'm going to redo it and list it again, and then it will be like kind of my final number. And if I don't get it, I'll keep it. Like
You're one of
those sellers. I'm one of those sellers.
You're one of those? How long are you going to wait for it to come back, Tom?
Oh, I don't. No, it's not coming back. I'll sell it at today's value.
Are you still going to then buy a detached, like your next house anyway?
I can't if I don't sell it. The numbers don't make sense mortgage-wise unless I take the equity out of this. My goal is to sell this property. Like it will get sold, and it's actually picked up a lot recently. But it's weird. I'm selling all my clients' listings, but I can't even sell my own condo. So I don't know what that says.
And honestly, hey, I've done this before. I've done this myself. You're too close to it, realistically, and I mean, I just think from seeing what you're doing and where you want to go and the upsize you want, it's going to feel like a kick in the pants. And now here's the cool part about this. Like, well, 2 points. One, get it sold. Get into your detached house.
Mm-hmm.
Two, isn't it amazing how when it's ourselves, how much we fall into the exact same traps that we have to subconsciously or whatever, that we talk our clients out of all of the time. I realized this when I was selling my townhouse, and it was the same thing. I was like, this is back when Realtor Tour was on, and like I had all the local guys through, and like I knew the price was solid within $5,000, right? I was like, this is solid. And it took like 35 days. I sold for the price, but it took like 35 days to sell it. And I had everybody through, and they're like, yeah, your price is good. And I realized,
when was
like,
that?
2013.
How long ago? Oh.
2013. So it was a while back. But it's like my wife turned to me one day after like a showing that didn't send feedback and wouldn't respond and all this stuff. And she's like, we don't have to sell. And I was like, oh, that's just something everyone has to say. Right? It's just something you have to do to protect yourself. So that's when I realized, like, oh, my clients aren't doing anything because they don't like me. They still want to move, but it was a weird spot where I was like, holy crap, this is just something as human beings we can't avoid, and we have to say to ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the situation that we're in. So Tom, hire an agent and get your property sold, because you're going to be super happy when you get to the next place.
Alice, have you ever bought or sold for yourself recently?
Not recently, but we're planning on doing it by the end of this year. So we are also going to be active buyers in this market.
You will feel my pain then.
Hey,
I guess maybe we're just too close to the situation.
I did it last year, and
it's so
I got
different.
pressured. I got pressured into, like, at that time it was before bidding wars, and it was like pressured into from the other agent to go full price, right? Like it was competing offers and everything. At that time I was like,
were you representing yourself?
I did represent. Yeah. I represent myself on purchases. Here in BC, we get in really tricky water if we represent ourselves on sales.
On sale, really?
Yeah. We're strictly not insured, and there's all this other stuff that goes on with it. But so I don't sell my own properties. But I felt the pressure, and I was like, yeah, this is what it feels like, and it's different when it's you. Like, it's so easy to coach people through it when it's not you, right? But you're not feeling those emotions.
I think it also kind of puts in perspective, like when we think about what our clients are thinking every single day when their property is up for sale, and all those questions that come to mind, or what about this and what about this, and you recognize
even information from other family members, or like that's a big thing, and also just all the information that you're finding on social media or in the news, right? I think we are just so consumed. I was talking to a colleague the other day, and he mentioned a term called infobesity. And I thought that was interesting, because I think that we suffer from it, right? We're just consuming all this information, and we can't make sense of it or put it into context. And I think that's where people have a lot of trouble with it.
I like that term.
I've actually made a decision that, well, it's really over the last little while, but I try to consume very little. Like, I watch sports. I will listen to a few podcasts that I really like, but and like, lovingly, Steve, I don't watch your videos start to finish, every single one. Like, I will watch the beginning, give you your like, or give you your thumbs down. I'll be, gotta get that out early. But
I get a lot of those right now.
But in terms of like the consuming of things, like, I've kind of put a lot of my energy in the last year into creating things that I'm excited about, because I know if I just consume, it's just, oh my God, all this crap coming in at all times, and it can be anything. But if you're a seller right now, I got an email when we gave a seller feedback yesterday. He's like, have you seen some of the headlines recently? I'm like, yeah, I've seen them. But it gets, everything's up here. Like, everything's happening between the ears, and it's hard to blame the consumer with their worries that are happening, because how can you make sense of this when every single day is something different being thrown at you?
Yeah. I mean, even as a professional in this industry, watching the headlines, it stifles me too. And I get overwhelmed and, anxious about it. But then I think, okay, like, sit down, let's look at the facts and like actually what's happening. And the good thing about our industry is that we're privy to that information, right? So it's just now our job to kind of send it to the masses. However, they think that we all suck, so that
And
sucks.
I actually think us as realtors, it's a good opportunity too, because the bar right now in our homes even selling, our price is really bad, is set very low in terms of what the news is trying to get across. Things are bad. Things are really bad. You know, we had a condo last week that sold in 2 days, and my sellers were like, "Oh my gosh, like we thought this was going to take 2 months." So it's almost like we have an opportunity now to do things the right way, and we explain to them. And what you guys talked about, it's got to be a 10 and a 10. It's got to be a 12 out of 10. You know, probably tenanted properties are going to have a tough time selling right now if they don't show amazingly well. It's got to be priced correctly. All those factors build into it. And the reality is only 25% of new listings are even selling in our market. Steve, I'm sure for you, it's not that much different, maybe even lower.
Oh, way lower.
So you want to be in that 20%? Yes. All right, cool. Here's what we got to do. And then once you follow that plan, it happens. But even if you do everything correctly, it still is going to take 3 to 4 times longer than it previously was.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys seeing for months of supply right now?
Depends on the asset, but for downtown condos, it's like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
even in
haven't
the
looked for
suburbs as
deep.
well.
Is that the same in the suburbs, about 3 to 4?
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a typical balanced out market pretty much, but it doesn't feel like it.
It sure doesn't feel like it. And like our condos, townhouses, stuff are still not doing so terrible. But when I'm looking at some detached evaluations here, I'm in micro markets of like 14 months supply.
14
Right.
months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like it's not like there is now, I don't know. Maybe it's just I think it's all from the last interest rate increase. Like that was the brakes on everything, right? July 13th, for my birthday. That's my birthday. I got the full, market stop, right? And I can't blame the buyers because everything, like you guys are saying, everything out there is just doom, gloom. Everything's terrible. I'm just wondering when the decreases will line back up with what affordability was, because that's the thing that always gets lost is the monthly payment is only getting worse. And when I'm talking to people, it's not necessarily the prices of the homes that they're worried about. They're seeing those monthly payments going, I don't know if I can really afford that. I know the stress test says I can afford that, but I don't think I can make that happen on a day-to-day basis with all of the other bills that I have.
I guess the stress test didn't take into account that gas prices were going to double, food prices were going to go up by 60%. They didn't know that in 2018 when they introduced the stress test.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Alice, I wanted to ask you to get into more of like the work-life balance side of things. The reality is real estate agents struggle with this. I think all three of us are borderline obsessed with what we do. That's why we do podcasts about it, and that's why we make so much content and talk to people. Like this is basically a lifestyle, and it's hard to find that. You are outnumbered by 5 to 2 with children to adults. How do you run a business and have? Oh, can I say, by the way, just before you answer that, you gave me the best piece of advice when we were pregnant. And I was trying to figure out like names to name my son, and you're like, well, whatever, just yell it out loud because you're going to be yelling that name a lot. And I was like, you know what, that's actually really good advice.
Yeah. How do I balance? I think that balance is the incorrect word to use. I mean, you kind of learn to find your rhythm in these situations. And kids, when they're really little, they go through phases, right? Like every 3 months, every 6 months is a different phase, especially you having a baby, right? You have sleep regressions and all this sort of stuff. So you kind of have to, I guess the biggest piece of advice is to stay flexible, be kind to yourself. Don't be so rigid with a schedule and kind of just, I don't know, do your best. I mean, I wish I had some magic pill on to give new parents or parents in general on how to balance this all. I feel sorry for like the single parents out there that are trying to balance it all without a village, because it honestly takes a village. And I've been blessed to have a supportive husband and great in-laws, and my parents also as well. Also the older kids, there's 3 older kids, and so they've helped tremendously out with the little ones. So I've been pretty lucky, but it definitely, there's no balance. Like just get that out of your mind. You have to find rhythm and kind of what works for you and adjust accordingly.
Because I've seen like, a few agents I'm friends with closely, female agents that have kids, and there's no mat leave for real estate agents.
No,
You
that's
get back
hard.
now for me and Steve having kids, it's like it's a totally different conversation because we're not the one that has to do a lot of things that happen when they're first born. Yeah, I just like I commend you because it's cool to see that you've grown your business while still been there for your family. And I think a trap that a lot of people fall into, and I've met a lot of these agents over the years who are so highly successful people. And if you saw them from 100 yards away when you start your career, you're like, oh my God, I would give anything to be them. And all they do is sell real estate and they've got nothing else going on. And I'm not saying
Right.
that's a bad thing. They probably really enjoy it, but it's like they don't see their kids. And is
Yeah.
that why we did this? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you have to be okay with, obviously you want goals and to achieve them, and the successful people set really high bars for themselves in terms of income and building out a business, whatever it is. But I think you have to be okay with maybe not making as much as you wanted to that year and maybe just almost hitting that threshold, right? That's why when I set goals for myself, I almost give myself like 2 goals that I want to achieve. And if I achieve the first one, which I know I can, given kind of the parameters of like life. And then the second one is like, okay, if I just pushed a little bit more each day, I'm sure I can get the second one. But even if I don't, then I'm okay with the first one, right?
So it's kind of keeping it simple and going off the
Yeah,
little goals
exactly.
and not overwhelming yourself with everything, right?
Yeah, and I think that this business is so quick to overwhelm us with everything, right? Like with market headlines, with coaching programs out there, with people selling that magic blue pill of like, sign up for this and you're going to make X amount. And there's courses and there's this, like, there's just so much. But the beauty of this business is that we can actually create it how we want at the pace that we want. And I think that if you have a structure and a plan and a list of stuff that you want to achieve, just, cross off one by one and work down that list.
And that's going
And
to
just
perfect. So that was a great answer. That's going to perfectly segue me here. This episode is sponsored by the Real Estate Video Course Bundle.
which I signed up for, and it was amazing, guys. So I've learned a ton of valuable stuff.
YouTube, the fundamentals, everything's in there. It's the best bang for the buck. Videocourselogin.com. Code Tom Show for 10% off. There you go. That's our first in like real live ad read. The rest are pre-recorded. So there we go.
Was that an ad read,
Hilarious.
Tom? Is that what you're
Well,
calling?
that was terribly done, but I'll try better next time. I'll do better next time. Alice, I wanted to ask you too, like I know we know each other offline and we become very friendly. So I've been looking at agents the last little while that are kind of on the come up. And there's lots of people I talk to that have found success and have plateaued for a while. And like when I look at your business, you're growing every year, you're building, and it's not going to be very long from now where a lot of people outside just like your close community are going to know who you are because your business is building very fast. So I know there's real estate agents listening to this that are maybe 4 years in, but they're not where you are in your career. Where are you at now? And then where do you see this building out to be? And like,
Where am I at in terms of what?
Oh, just in terms of like overall, like when was the moment in your 4 years that you figured out like, okay, I feel comfortable now. I can do this. Like I've trained my mind, I can do it. And then as you're building up now, I know you brought on administrative help to take over a lot of those tasks and responsibilities. And then where do you go from here?
So it was probably 2 years into the business that I actually started feeling confident and comfortable with speaking to clients, with overcoming objections, with even doing stuff like this. Like if you knew me before, I would never get in front of the camera. I would never get on a microphone or make YouTube. And I think the biggest thing that was a driving force for me to like the catalyst, I guess, was just to be self-aware of like, okay, if this is my fear, what can I do to get over that fear? And a lot of the times when I'm doing my recordings on YouTube, I actually have a teleprompter and I've learned how to read that teleprompter pretty well. I mean, there's days that I'm recording and it's still like, oh, you could see that you're reading it. So just again, like practice and learn where your pitfalls are to like overcome that fear and then get comfortable with it.
That's
and
really
then
cool.
And then what was the other question? Where am I going to next?
Yeah, like what you've built fast. You know, in 4 years to where you are percentage wise of realtors in our market is amazing. So
Thank you.
is sky the limit here? Are we just going to keep going, or are we building out? Like, what advice, I guess, would you give to someone that was you at year 2 versus you now? And like, what are you focusing on moving forward?
I think that we can have everything that we want, just maybe not at the same time. So, like, slow, if you're new getting into this business and you want to grow and you want to expand, write everything down on paper. I think that there's this like magical thing of putting pen to paper and writing down your goals and envisioning that. It might sound woo woo, it might sound crazy, but like, I swear it works. And like, what do you have to lose if you can't harness that portion of, I guess, the law of attraction, right? If you don't try, you don't know. Um, but yeah, I guess the next steps is sky the limit. Yeah, sure. I mean, I want balance. My kids are getting older. I want to spend time with them. And I'm trying to find that rhythm again now in this new portion of my career. I did bring on a admin, which I think was super helpful. She has transpired my business in the last month or so that I've had her on board, and she takes care of, the nuances of the business, so that way I can focus on things like content creation and YouTube and just being client focused. That was my main goal of bringing her on. Again, keeping it super simple, and this is all I want to focus on is content and clients, right? And creating that exceptional experience for clients, because then essentially then that's how you grow.
You said it took you 2 years to kind of figure out that you felt very comfortable. I'd say I was probably around the same. Steve's in year 15 and he's still not comfortable. So when do we think he'll
I think
get
I'm
it?
14 or 14 and a half. So
Okay, fine.
lay off.
All right, you're not quite there. Do you think the hiring of the administrator is the obvious path in terms of building a true business at some point for most agents?
I think so. I think, what's that saying? If you want to go far, go together, or something like that. I don't know what that's saying. Anyways, Google it later. But
Something like that.
yeah, no, basically, I mean, you need to have the help, right? We only have two hands, and there's so much that is involved in this business behind the scenes of, it's more so than just going and opening doors, right? If you want to keep your business growing, you have to keep those relationships growing. And it's so much easier to do business with people that know, like, and trust you already, that give you those referrals. So how are you going to build that? Like, you need to have a plan for that, right? And you can't do that by yourself when you're the one that is client focused. You need someone in the back end doing those little tasks that are actually big tasks.
Yeah, we went through a change in administration like a month and a half ago, and for the 2 weeks in between was the most terrifying time in my business because I'm like, oh my God. I haven't been doing all these things behind the scenes for a long time, and I don't even know how to do them. I wasn't the one doing them. I didn't build out all the systems. Other people did, and that was nerve-wracking, which I learned a lesson, which is to make sure that everything's in place moving forward, to make sure that, like, if we do have a change again in the future, which I don't anticipate, but it's there. We can start. We can follow the plan. Right. But that was really nerve-wracking. Steve, I know you've pretty much always, since you joined the team structure, had administrative help. Do you think that's been the biggest catalyst of the growth on your end as well?
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't think I'm in a growth pattern at all. First of all, so it's like I've been at 125 transactions and realized it's not really where I want to be. So I think growth
for you.
I don't think I have a theory that everybody needs. I don't know if this is adjusted for inflation, but I have a theory that everybody only needs about $75,000 income, let's say, so $150,000 household income, and then there's no more happiness after that. You don't get more happy the more money you have. So
because you have to like work harder, and that then takes away from family life, and
it's the theory that I have of like, you know what, the difference between walking and buying the cheapest car you can, what used to be a Honda, what's a cheap car now, a Camry or a Corolla or something, and then that to a Ferrari is not worth the price of the Ferrari, right? So that's the same in business. Like my life it's diminishing returns, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't think that the growth is necessarily something I'm shooting for. I definitely want comfort and a little bit of contentment and happiness over that, because I've been through the growth. I've done the 21% year over year over year over year growth. And it was like, once you get there, I think there's not necessarily happiness at the end. I think you have to experience that though to appreciate it. But would I ever do anything in real estate ever without a team? Never. I would never be, if my whole team quit tomorrow, I would either go with them or like hire the next day, because people are the only way that we can get anything done in this world and not go crazy at the same time. You have to use the expertise and the abilities of other people, and you have to be able to rely on other people in order to get you to better places. So I mean, I want to look at maybe our whole income as a team as growing, maybe the amount of deals we do growing, but I don't even, I mean, my team, the amount of deals I actually handle is probably a lot smaller than most kind of team leader roles, if you want to call it that, because I've been there and I didn't find happiness in it. And I think, I don't know, it's just not, infinite growth is not perfection. Right? There's so much more to life than infinite growth. And no matter who's listening to this right now, until you experience it, you have no idea. So you're going to want to chase that next deal, or next year we're going to do 100 deals. Next year we're going to do 125 deals, right? Until you get to that spot where you're like, you know what? I don't think I'm any happier than I was last year.
Right. I do also want to add that, working with a team, an assistant, or other people just allows you to build a purposeful business, right? And do things kind of with more intention, as just opposed to chasing that next deal and that next transaction and then closing it and then the next one, right? It allows you to create relationships, as I said before, and just a better business overall.
I think as well right now, as the market continues to shift slightly and there's less pie available for everybody, and sales are down 50%, like all these things. What I've recognized as someone that runs a team, I have had so many agents reach out to me in the last month that want to join my team. Tons.
Yeah. Yes.
Tons. So
because they're looking for that mentorship, right? Like people need that, especially being in your first couple of years. I think that was a huge catalyst for my business as well.
I will say though, I think the advice that I would give to agents that are struggling is, yes, go join a team, get the structure, have the weekly meetings where you're held accountable. Don't be lonely. Go out there, try to figure out how to build a real business. But then on the flip side, what I would say to people that are running teams, us three included, is don't just bring somebody on to bring somebody on. Like, what's the give-take relationship? Why are they coming to you? Because they just want something from you? Or because you guys can work together and build a 5, 10, 15-year relationship together? You got to sniff that out right away also, right?
Yeah, I think alignment is huge, right? You want to be aligned with the people that you bring on your team that share the same vision and business principles and practices as you. Otherwise, it's going to crumble.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally going to. And usually the drivers in the business, like anybody that's really successful selling real estate, are the crappiest managers ever. So that is its own struggle, right? Like that's where I'm very happy with the team structure that we have now, because I haven't lost a team member 10 years. So we hired, I think my administrator, who, again, she leaves, I'm going with her. We're like coming up on 10 years. Our team members are like 9 and 7 behind that. We did have one kind of marketing guy that was here for a bit that didn't work out. But other than that, like, we're bringing people on, and they're literally right now, like, we're losing team members to retirement, not to, I don't like to work with you guys, or there's not enough business. Right. And I think that's a pretty cool spot to be but it's really, really hard. It's really hard for anybody who has the personality to sell a lot of real estate to also manage the people, because they are not the same skill set whatsoever.
I mean, if you look at the large scale teams, the team leader is not the manager of the people. They have another person in that role that takes care of the team members and keeps them accountable and runs the meeting, because the team leader is the rainmaker. They're trying to find opportunities for people so they can't do everything at once. But there are very, very few teams that actually have that true structure built out. Like very few. Mm-hmm. But they're all highly successful, to be fair.
Interesting.
Awesome. Alice, YouTube. We're going to talk about YouTube. Okay.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yes. Let's do it. Let's dive in.
Okay. Your YouTube videos are very good. Better than me and Steve's. But at the moment, you have less viewership. Now, let me tell you why I think that is. Mm-hmm. Because me and Steve just post more consistently. That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
I know. But you know what? Also, you guys don't have long hair. You don't need to put on makeup. You don't need to do all these things. Hair. Like, there you go. See, so your time to get ready for these YouTube videos is like a fraction.
Wait, did you just say I'm naturally beautiful? Is that what you're saying?
I did.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have gorgeous
I appreciate
eyes.
That. I think that's a little bit. Are you saying the days you don't shoot videos, you just don't put on makeup or get out of bed?
No, I'm out of bed. I'm in the office, but like, you know, it's a whole thing.
No, what I'm saying, like, you just got to do it. It probably is consistency. I would assume, right?
I'm trying. Again, being self-aware, understanding where my pitfalls are, which is consistency. I've gotten the video thing down pat. I have the lights. I really have no excuse to not do video. It's just now finding the time to do it.
Yeah.
So totally. I brought on the assistant. She's obviously a big portion of me being more successful with YouTube because she's going to take everything else kind of off my hands. So now, I really don't have any excuse.
Do you have a very easy setup where you can just sit down and just shoot?
Definitely. Yeah, that was another thing.
Probably the biggest key.
Yeah.
And I've got away from posting, right? Like I don't post my own stuff anymore. That's actually what here's our second plug, Tom, for the YouTube for real estate video course.
Do a better job than me, please.
That is actually the cool part about the way that's designed is it's a lot more to do with how to get more viewership than the actual content itself. So if you want to buy that course right now, Tom will tell you the link after because I can't remember it. It is designed for like admin to like post that stuff, right? And get more viewership and tag and to script properly and all that stuff. Because I think that's where a lot of people get hung up is not knowing how to get the traction out of that type of medium. Like I'm totally hung up on Instagram. I don't know how to use Instagram, and Tom's got like I think every realtor in Canada following him on Instagram, right? So
and a few fake accounts.
They're following your fake account.
Well, no, that's still going. I literally, Alice, I sent Instagram directly a picture of me holding my ID to my face, like all in the photo.
They didn't care.
They didn't care. I'll tell you what, they were very quick to make sure that I would not get verified. There's no way they're giving me the blue check mark, but they're very quick to tell me no. But very slow to remove an account that's literally trying to scam people. And it's still happening every single day. It's insane.
Interesting.
It's insane.
Well, sorry you're dealing with that. That's really annoying.
I just know like at some point I'm going to meet someone. They're going to be like, hey, so like you're going to send me back that $1,000 for crypto? And you'd be like, no. That wasn't me.
So has that stuff, you said online lead generation is kind of your game. Is it social media style or is it like SEO website stuff?
Like pay-per-click for Google. So I run it through Agent Locator, which I'm sure, I think it's Canada-wide, right? It's not just Ontario. Have you heard of Agent Locator, Steve, before?
I pay no attention to that stuff.
Okay.
So
Steve hasn't heard of much.
It.
So they have like the websites, they have the CRM, they have kind of the whole package, and they also offer a lead generation package that you can tack on. And essentially I have like an unbranded website where people go and like search homes, and then I would get notified with whatever they're searching. And then we have a whole system that actually incorporates video, incorporates text, and we have like put them on a drip campaign, and we call them and all that sort of stuff. So
and you're actually getting really good results out of that.
Yeah. That's kind of like the main pillar of my business. And now now as I've went on in my years of real estate, there's obviously, repeat referral, that sort of stuff. And whatever you do the work kind of comes to you. But online lead generation has been huge. Yeah.
And why do you think you're getting such good results there? Is it because when you get the opportunity, actually follow up and have a system to it?
I
Because
think the
most
biggest
online leads
thing,
are tough to crack.
yeah, when I was working with the team in the beginning, they did a lot of online stuff as well, but they didn't incorporate video. And now I have it like, okay, when you kind of come into my CRM, a video will go out to be like, hey, it's Alice, blah, blah, blah. So now it builds that familiarity. I
Mhm.
can't say that word, say that 10 times fast, but it puts a face to the name and it makes it a little bit more personable. And then we try and provide as much value as humanly possible without being too annoying. We're never asking like, do you want to buy or sell today? It's always kind of, because nobody ever really is. Everybody's just in this looking phase. Even if they're not, they'll tell you that they are, even if
Hey,
they
I don't
want to
need to
buy a
sell.
house
I
next
don't need to
week.
sell.
Yeah. So we try and provide as much value as we possibly can.
And
And then
as
it
you
just, it comes.
and then as you continue to, and you know what's kind of cool about that? So the online stuff, and like I haven't done a lot of paid online stuff. I'm mostly organic online stuff with YouTube and other social platforms. But that's essentially a tap you can turn on and off. You can
Yeah.
spend more money, get more opportunities. You can dial it back. You can put people in place. Have you thought of getting to a point with the online stuff where you pay someone else almost as an ISA to like go through all those and then get appointments from them? Is that the next
I've
step?
looked into some companies. My biggest thing with them is they didn't have a follow up system in place. So I was like, why am I going to be paying for these leads? They're going to call them one time and then they're going to go to waste. So that was the biggest thing. Like I grill these people really hard. And now that I have the admin, it's not necessarily that she can really call them and conduct any sort of business stuff.
Right.
But she can, filter through them and to see kind of where they are and just to get more information out of them. And just to see, it's as simple as even calling them to see, hey, are the listings that you're getting like okay, or do you want me to kind of fix any criteria? And then building that rapport with that client so that when they do feel more comfortable with you, they're going to think of you and not, Joe Schmo down the street.
It's just a long game, right?
Yeah, just a long game, just like anything else, really. And that's what real estate really is. I think that people that are coming into this industry now, or when it was the hype of the market, thought, oh my God, everybody and their mother is selling their house. Like, let me get in and kind of ride this cash cow. When really, that's not it. So, yeah, to our point before, the ones that are coming in now or in this down market now are, I think, are going to have a better long term career in this versus the ones that came in the last couple of years.
When I used to run some Facebook ads back in the day, what would always make me laugh would be the fake names that would come in, like the fake names or emails. Have you
Yeah,
had
I got
any
like
funny
poopy
ones?
pants at hotmail.com and I'm
Hey,
just
that's
like,
Steve's email.
okay, thanks.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We
Yeah.
got a few more minutes here. And the one thing I wanted to ask you too was because I think this has been an episode that we've dug really deep into the industry as well. And I think a lot of people at this point that are listening are either just very curious about real estate junkies, or they're agents, right? So I guess like what advice would you give an agent right now? Like whether they're struggling, whether they're new, whether they've been around, like what are you going to focus on for the next 6 months to dial it up and make sure that a falling market doesn't dictate your success level?
I mean, you always say it, right? Visibility beats ability. I think doubling down on just getting your face out there and providing information that is more so than just here are the average prices of Aurora
Right.
or any city or whatever. Like, give people information that they can't necessarily find on the World Wide Web, or put stuff into context, because there's a lot of headlines right now that you can go in and dive into and even give a little bit of your opinion on. So if you're a new agent in this industry, definitely learn how to speak to people and overcome or help people overcome their fears in this industry, or it's not in this industry, sellers and buyers.
I think some people overcomplicate it too. It's like when you're
That's
speaking
the
with
thing, yeah.
someone that wants to buy or sell, just be like, hey, how you feeling, right? Like be a human being. You don't need a sales
Yeah.
script. Just talk to them.
No, I remember when I first got in this industry, I was like, oh man, I need to get like all these suits and like, what do I wear and blah, blah, blah. And now like sometimes I'll show up in like jeans and a t-shirt, and like clients don't care as long as you know what you're talking about and delivering the information and helping them, or not even helping, well, yeah, helping them, but showing them exactly what's going on versus then telling them and trying to make sense of everything. Then it doesn't matter like what you wear, or trying to be so hoity-toity, right? Like be yourself, be authentic. I think that's going to propel you further.
That is the coolest part, I think, about introducing video is you're yourself and you're providing information and value first.
Yeah, like look at Tom's shirt right now, right? Like
totally.
I'm literally doing the
fun.
news in 20 minutes, and this is the shirt I'm going to be wearing on Global News. So it is what it is. This is what you get.
But I'm doing all my appointments now in t-shirts and hoodies and jeans because that's what I normally wear, and people now expect it. And
but you brand them. You put your logo on them.
I do have. What do I got? I got my real estate AF shirt on right now, but which is interesting when you show up. By the way, some people get it, some people don't.
Like, what's AF?
And fun. The thing is now though, it's like, yeah, I don't have to be like that smiley happy guy in the open house in a suit and blah 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 like this, because it's not me. And I think that's maybe why a lot of those channels weren't successful for me in the past, is because it was just like I'm not being me. And
it comes off like people know that, okay, this guy's like, something's off about him, right?
Yeah. So now I just get to be a lot more me, which includes terrible jokes and bad sense of humor and maybe dressing like a slob. But
there's a pot for every lid.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're
going to find your people.
You do find your people. And I think that's the coolest part about putting yourself out there in this way, as opposed to like, just listed, just sold. Look at sold over asking. Like,
which is annoying. Yeah. Or like, anyways, I'm not going to get into other stuff. But
you can totally trash.
You can go for it.
We're going to keep it.
You know what I noticed?
Sure.
So a few weeks ago, we did our first client event in like 2 years, obviously, because we couldn't have done them. I probably had 10 people that came to that being like, oh, we thought we were coming to like an education session and you were going to like give us a breakdown of the market and investment advice. I'm like, no. It's just an open bar. Go have fun. But
That's
I recognize at that moment, I'm like, oh, okay. They came thinking that's why they were coming. Probably like my bad on the invite. But like, people are interested.
But that's what you're known for.
Yeah,
also,
they want to learn. They want to know what's going on, and they were willing to show up on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. when they could have been doing a million other things because they thought they were going to sit in a chair and hear me go over market stuff. So that was eye-opening to me. That it's like our clients, our potential clients, people just want certainty and they want to know what's going on. And I think all three of us, if we can just package it correctly and lay it out and like so they understand what's going on, that's as valuable information as anything else. They have access to the sold prices. They can figure out everything else. They can do it all on their own if they want to, but I don't think a lot of people actually want to.
Well, it's back to that term of infobesity, right? Like we're just so overwhelmed with all this information. People want us or real estate professionals to trim the fat and to make it condensed and like concise information where they can actually like bite-sized information where they can what's that word I'm looking for? Digest it.
Absorb it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom for the viewers for another great episode?
From me? No.
Well, I always ask you at the end. Before I go to Alice, I wanted to give you a shot.
No, man, but I'm hopefully next week we can do this from my new home studio. See where it goes. But no, I got nothing good to say ever. So thank goodness you two are here.
Alice, thank you so much for coming on. Any final thoughts? Just what's going on in your life right now, or what your summer plans are, or anything like that?
You know what? I'm gonna be taking a week off in August just to hang out with the kids, which I think is also important in this industry. There's so much that we are being thrown our way. Sometimes you just need to, turn off the lights and recoup, and so we can be our best selves.
I love it. Well, I hope everyone listening is having a great summer as well. Alice, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an awesome conversation. If you like this episode, make sure to give us some feedback. You can text me or Steve or check out our Instagram. Also, Alice, how do people find you online?
I have an Instagram, so it's at _ Alice Prince. Also, I have a YouTube channel. Just Google Alice Prince, and then all the information is there with my phone number and email.
And now that all those people are going to go to those places, we're going to see video.
I'm going to go shoot a video right now and maybe some reels. So thanks, guys, for all the inspiration.
Below.
Yeah, we'll link everything to Alice's. Yeah. Awesome.
All right. You got anything else, Tom?
No, I got nothing. That's it.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully Alice is going to do it with us here because I'm joining you today, Tom.
Oh, my ending? Do you know my ending, Alice?
Bye.
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 Bye.